drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% since rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
The United States and Iran have reached a peace deal to end fighting and lift the naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the deal would be officially signed this Friday in Switzerland. Korean stocks soared more than 5% after opening this morning, triggering a buy-side sidecar just a few minutes into trading. Meanwhile, global oil prices plummeted as the deal between Washington and Tehran eased geopolitical concerns. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung, who's on a 10-day Europe trip, attended a special mass for peace and solidarity in Rome and pledged to do all he can to build peace on the Korean peninsula. He's also set to meet with Pope Leo at the Holy See on Monday. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. The United States and Iran have announced a complete cessation of hostilities and the lifting of the naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. The newly minted Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding means a permanent truce on all fronts, including Lebanon. Our Kim Do-yeon starts us off.
The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. Posted on Truth Social Sunday, President Trump's statement declared an end to the 106-day war. It follows the finalization of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding in Tehran, a bilateral framework mediated by Pakistan and Qatar that orders an immediate end to the U.S. naval blockade and a toll-free reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Nearly 14 to 15 hours of lengthy talks took place, during which we presented the Islamic Republic of Iran's final amendments to the text. Naturally, those amendments were accepted, and the text of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding was finalized.
The accord mandates an immediate and permanent cessation of military operations across all fronts, explicitly including active conflict zones in Lebanon. While political authorization is immediate, the physical removal of naval assets and active mine clearance across the Strait of Hormuz are projected to take between 2 weeks and 30 days. President Trump later modified his timeline, stating that the formal opening for oil transit will coincide with the official signing ceremony scheduled for this Friday in Geneva, Switzerland. Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile and broader nuclear program have been deferred to a secondary 60-day phase of structured negotiations. President Trump framed the deal as an unprecedented victory that prior administrations failed to achieve. Iran's semi-official Mehr news agency reported what it says is a 14-point draft of the deal, which includes a 30-day window to lift the blockade under Iranian arrangements, a $300 billion U.S.-led reconstruction plan, and the release of half of Iran's frozen funds before final talks began. Washington has yet to confirm these points, and Tehran is apparently claiming victory in the war.
The United States was forced to sign a memorandum to end the war with the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Resistance Front.
As for the signing ceremony in Geneva, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is scheduled to lead the American delegation. White House officials indicate that President Trump may also attend the signing ceremony. 김도현, Arirang News.
And global oil prices have fallen after the U.S. and Iran announced their peace deal. Brent crude futures on Monday dropped by 4.02% to $83.82 a barrel. U.S. WTI fell 4.63% to $80.95. Easing geopolitical tensions also pushed the U.S. dollar down to a 10-day low against major currencies. And Korean stocks soared more than 5% after opening this morning, following news of a ceasefire deal between the United States and Iran. The benchmark KOSPI opened at around 8,526, up 4.95% from the previous session. Gains accelerated beyond 5% shortly after the opening bell, triggering a buy-side sidecar just 6 minutes into trading. The secondary Kosdaq also opened higher, gaining more than 1%. Market sentiment improved as the deal between Washington and Tehran eased geopolitical concerns and boosted investor sentiment. The $1 exchange rate opened at 1,511.41, down 8.41 from the previous session. And U.S. President Donald Trump has held separate calls with the leaders of Russia and Ukraine ahead of the G7 summit, where the war is expected to dominate discussions. Both Moscow and Kyiv say the conversations focused on efforts to move closer to a possible peace settlement. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy each had separate phone calls with U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday ahead of this week's G7 summit, where the war in Ukraine is expected to be a major topic. According to the Kremlin, Putin's conversation with Trump lasted just under an hour. Russian officials said Trump stressed the need to end the conflict and expressed a willingness to work with European allies and Ukraine toward a settlement. Moscow also stated that Trump suggested a swift end to the war could lead to a significant improvement in U.S.-Russia relations. Putin, meanwhile, reportedly argued that Ukrainian attacks on Russian civilian infrastructure would not alter the situation on the battlefield and reiterated his openness to meeting directly with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy. Separately, Zelenskyy described his own call with Trump as productive. In his evening address, the Ukrainian president said he wished Trump a happy 80th birthday and thanked him for the support Washington has provided throughout the war. Zelenskyy said the two discussed steps that could help bring peace closer and that he updated Trump on the situation along the Eastern Front, where Ukraine's position has recently strengthened.
We have one wish for President Trump, all Ukrainians do, that peace can finally be achieved so that we can achieve this success together with America, together with all our partners.
The Ukrainian leader added that the two agreed to continue their discussions at the G7 summit, where he is expected to join world leaders later this week, as efforts to end the war remain high on the international agenda. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Over in Rome, President Lee Jae-myung has attended a special mass for peace and solidarity. He vowed to do all he can to build peace on the Korean peninsula in a special speech. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
Peace was an overarching theme during a special mass on Sunday at the Basilica of St. Paul in Rome. The Mass for Peace and Solidarity was celebrated by South Korean Cardinal Lazaro Yuhung-sik and attended by President Lee Jae-myung.
People on the Korean peninsula still live with the scar of division. What more pain could there be?
The message was echoed by President Lee, who said the South Korean government will continue its efforts to prevent accidental clashes between the two Koreas and restore military trust.
정전 상태를 넘어 지속 가능한 평화 체제를 구축하기 위해서도 할 수 있는 모든 것을 다할 생각입니다.
Reiterating the suspension of the propaganda loudspeaker campaign against Pyongyang, President Lee once again made it clear that he does not seek reunification by absorption. He referred to the Inter-Korean Joint Declaration announced in 2000.
오랜 적대와 긴장을 넘어 대화와 협력의 가능성을 전 세계에 알린 역사적인 전환점이었습니다. 저는 지금도 그 희망의 불씨가 살아있다고 확신합니다.
President Lee also thanked the Holy See for its support for peace on the peninsula and promised the country will play a greater role for the world, calling it a shared responsibility.
한반도의 평화가 세계 평화로 이어지고 세계의 연대가 다시 한반도의 평화를 굳건하게 만드는 선순환을 함께 만들어 가기를 희망합니다.
He went on to promise greater support for World Youth Day, a major Catholic camp event set to be held in Seoul next year, during which Pope Leo XIV will visit Korea. The topic is expected to extend into Monday's meeting between President Lee and Pope Leo at the Holy See. Eyes are on whether Lee will officially ask the Pope to pay a visit to the North, amid renewed protests by the North over a recent joint statement by South Korea and the European Union. All this as the South Korean president sends a message of peace and solidarity as the world continues to face conflicts and tensions remain high on the Korean peninsula. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, The Vatican.
South Korea's defense minister says a target date for regaining wartime operational control from the United States could be proposed to the leaders of both countries by the end of this year. Defense Minister An Kyu-baek told Korean broadcaster KBS on Sunday that discussions on South Korea's full operational capability assessment will take place at the Allied Security Consultative Meeting in November, after which a timeline proposal could be submitted to the two presidents. The Lee Jae-myung administration hopes to complete the transfer before Lee's term ends in 2030. An acknowledged there may be differences between Seoul and Washington on the timing, but said close consultations are underway. Korean zombie thriller Colony has surpassed 5 million missions, extending its run at the top of the local box office for a fourth consecutive weekend. According to the Korean Film Council on Monday, the film drew more than 301,000 missions from Friday to Sunday, bringing its cumulative audience to just over 5.2 million as of Sunday. Colony is the second film released this year to reach the 5 million mark, following the historical drama The King's Warden. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho, who also directed zombie thriller Train to Busan, the film features Chun Ji-hyun as a biotechnology professor leading a group of survivors through a virus outbreak. Interest in learning Korean is increasingly growing across Vietnam. For many young people, Korean proficiency has become a valuable credential for university admissions and job opportunities. Our Kim Sa-young reports.
Nervous test takers check which room they were assigned to before heading inside. This is the first test of proficiency in Korean, or TOPIK, held in Vietnam this year. Last year, more than 85,000 people in Vietnam took the test. That was the largest number of test takers anywhere in the world. Korean culture may have sparked the interest, but job opportunities are now giving more Vietnamese a practical reason to study the language.
This test gives employers an objective measure of my Korean ability, and it will help me find a better job.
The boom is also being fueled by growing economic ties between South Korea and Vietnam. As more Korean companies expand into Vietnam, demand for workers who can speak Korean has grown rapidly. Vietnam's education authorities are also moving in step. After choosing Korean as one of the most important foreign languages in 2021, the country now has about 35,000 students learning Korean at roughly 80 universities and 160 high schools. The momentum is expected to pick up even more. Starting this year, TOPIK scores can be officially recognized as scores in Vietnam's high school graduation exam.
Students who earn level 3 on the test or higher can be exempt from the foreign language test of the graduation exam.
But as the number of test takers grows, cheating is becoming a rising concern. Last year, 554 cheating cases were reported nationwide, the highest on record. As the number of test takers continues to grow, stronger safeguards will be needed to ensure the exam remains fair and credible. Kim Seoyoung, Arirang News.
AI technology is reshaping healthcare, changing the way hospitals monitor and care for patients. One hospital in Korea is using wearable devices and radar systems to keep track of patients' conditions, including vital signs and sleep patterns. Our Chae-Young reports.
A sensor positioned at the entrance of a hospital room uses facial recognition to grant access. Inside, patients can control their environment, including lighting, temperature, and curtains, using only their voice. The core feature of this smart hospital room is the ability to continuously monitor a patient's condition without requiring a physical visit from the medical team. Radar sensors installed in the patient's room and restroom detect movement to identify potential emergencies such as falls. By combining data from wearable devices and environmental sensors, the system performs double checks on a patient's vital signs. Furthermore, an AI chatbot provides essential medical information tailored to the patient's specific condition. When necessary, patients can communicate frequently with medical staff via tablet PCs or monitor screens.
We utilize various wearable devices and radar systems to continuously monitor vital signs, sleep patterns, and the overall safety of our patients.
Hospital rooms are now evolving into intelligent treatment spaces driven by data and artificial intelligence. Cha-Young, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. The U.S. government has ordered AI company Anthropic to shut off all foreign access to its most powerful models, including Mythos, after researchers discovered a way to bypass the system's safety guardrails. In an unprecedented move, the Commerce Department directed Anthropic to suspend access to its Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models for any foreign national anywhere in the world. Anthropic cut off all customers globally to ensure compliance, but said it disagreed that a narrow jailbreak should trigger the recall. Amazon researchers had conducted the jailbreak research that revealed the vulnerability and were in contact with the U.S. government before the order was issued. President Trump's AI advisor David Sachs said the administration wants Anthropic to fix the vulnerability as soon as possible so access can be restored. Swiss voters have rejected a proposal to cap the country's population at 10 million. In a referendum on Sunday, 55% voted against the measure in a result that relieved businesses and preserved the country's free movement agreement with the European Union. The right-wing Swiss People's Party had championed the cap, arguing that rapid population growth was straining public services and pushing up rents. Switzerland's population currently stands at 9.1 million and is projected to reach 10 million by the early 2040s, with foreigners making up nearly 28% of residents. Business groups warned a yes vote would have limited access to foreign workers and damaged the economy. In the Philippines, the death toll from last week's magnitude 7.8 earthquake in the southern Philippines has risen to at least 61, with 40 people still missing. Scientists also confirmed the tremor had raised the seabed by up to 2 meters, exposing coral reefs and killing marine life across a wide stretch of coastline. The geological phenomenon known as coastal uplift extended shorelines by as much as 200 meters in some areas of Sarangani and Davao Occidental provinces. Residents initially reported the changes out of concern they might be harmed by fumes from decaying sea life. In the U.S., a plane crash in Butler, Missouri on Sunday killed 11 skydivers and the pilot. According to a local official, the plane failed to gain altitude shortly after takeoff, stalled, and hit the ground nose first before bursting into flames, with reports saying that family members of some of the victims were watching. Federal Aviation Administration officials and a National Transportation Safety Board team responded to the scene. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
We are now stepping firmly into an early summer pattern with strong heat continuing to build across the country. Under mostly sunny skies, temperatures will rise quickly today with plenty of sunshine. And that said, UV levels will be very high in most parts of the country, so sun safety is a must during the day. However, not everyone will stay completely dry today. Between this afternoon and early evening, passing rain is in the forecast for Jeollado and parts of Gangwon-do province, with 5 to 10 millimeters expected. And this afternoon, except for the East Coast regions, the rest of the country will see highs in the 30s. Seoul will be getting up to 32 degrees Celsius, Daejeon, Gwangju at 31 degrees, Chuncheon, Daegu will make it to 30 degrees. Then the hot weather should continue throughout the week, with daytime highs hovering above 30 degrees Celsius in many areas under bright sunny skies.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.
It feels a bit off.